story. So Joan's going to talk to us today about some unusual things, some things that I think you'll find very interesting and insightful. So, without any more delay, I'd like to invite Joan up. Joan Koval, come on!
Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Oh my God. Let me walk into a new dimension of myself. The past is gone. I have not done anything like this for maybe 10 years. Speaking, teaching, hypnobirthing, getting up and doing anything in front of anyone for a while. Because I was caring for my mother, flying back and forth from here to there in New York City for over about 10 years. And everything got pushed to the side. How many of you journal? How many have at least 10 journals?
Oh.
More? Yeah. We have a book. We have a book. That's right. I have 30 hard-covered journals, not to mention notebooks that you doodle in and put down information. So what I did recently was I started to, a few years ago, I started highlighting all the synchronicities and the coincidences. And I started to call them fascinations, my fascinations. And there are a lot. Now, it's interesting. Laurel, the other day, she texted me and said, Joan, I'm looking forward to your talk. And, Doug and I, her husband, we did a talk on Zimbabwe and how they brought music from there to here. And now she has a wonderful marimba band here. And so I got this realization, oh, my God, maybe people think I'm going to talk about some adventure of going to Barrow or Bethel, because I lived there we lived there for 10 years. And what I recognized is my talk is really about the adventures of New York City. Sorry, guys. We'll have to do the bush some other time. And it came out organically. I just started doing these kind of highlight talks, with Marianne Williamson and Keanu Reeves and a first class ticket, and it became a relationship to my time in New York City. So, anyway, I moved to talk to you about the synchronicities sequences, and thank you, Dave. You inspired me with your talk because you showed the magic that was going on in your life. And we all have stories, and I love them, and I hope you'll like these. As metaphysicians, I know that you too have probably jotted down signs and coincidences in your own lives, because that's what we're about. Speaking of metaphysics, I just want to say it was an honor to enter the metaphysical books that we have here into the computer. What a dream that was. And we're talking 10,000 books between 6 or 7 of us entering that in.
Wow.
And it was amazing. The last room that I worked in was the reception room when you're coming in. And I want to talk to you about the last book I picked up there, because there's magic every time you pick up a book. And then I want to, at the end of the talk about the first book I picked up on that day. So the last book that I picked up was Spiritual Midwifery. Now let me tell you, there are no other midwifery books in that bookshelf. This is the book that got me into midwifery, that wanted me to be this type of midwife.
Wow.
This is the book that inspired me. I was a nurse and I wanted to become a midwife, and this was what I said, I'm going to aspire to do this. And brought this into the hospital. I never did home births, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I brought it to the hospital. So that was fabulous. It was like a wink and a nod thank you, like coming full circle. I retired in 2012. I retired early from Alaska Native Medical Center, but it just was just a nice reminder. So in my midwifery course, I was at Downstate Medical Center in Brooklyn, and after you come out of these courses, you always feel like, God, I could use a little more experience. And so there are internships. And I could either go to LA County, which is high volume, intense, but a lot of experience, or I could go to Booth Maternity Center in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, it would have been more like between a hospital and a birthing center, because we could do cesarean sections there, but it was lower risk women. It was more time, spending time with them at labor, which I love doing. LA County would have been numbers, yeah, get them in, get them out. But, it would have given me experience. Anyway, the director at Booth said to me, you will know whether you're accepted on September 15th. This is 1982. September 15th, we will call you and tell you whether you've been accepted. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm on a grocery store line, I get a lot of information. People are talking and I'm picking up on things. I was in Seatown in New York City, and this woman in front of me is writing out a check to give to the cashier. And she turns towards me and said, it's September 15th, isn't it? I said, no, actually it's September 13th. And she's looking at me like, I'm not convinced. But I was convinced that I was going to get a call that day. It was September 13th, but she's talking to me about, it's September 15th. I knew. And in 2 hours, I got a call from Booth Maternity that I was accepted into their 3-month internship. And it was that glitch in the matrix kind of thing. It was like, okay, what's this? How come she's pulling my attention here? And I just knew. It's like being aware of what is Spirit trying to tell you? What is, it makes life a wonderful game, I think. Speaking about Church of Religious Science, past name, now Center for Spiritual Living, Marquita Pierre, who was the reverend there, maybe you remember, she was a practitioner, then a reverend, and she did a talk on, she mentioned our light within in relation to the wattage of a light bulb. She said, you can put out 40 watt, you can put out 80 watt, you can put out 100 watt. It's your choice. And so I took that with me. The next day I'm at South Central Foundation in the prenatal clinic, and I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm sitting in the stall, and I'm kind of in a downhead about my daughter because she's ill. She's got the flu, and I'm doing the mother thing. I'm worried, and I'm just, boom, light bulb right in front of me, smoke coming out. I'm like, okay, I'll shift my thinking. All right, Tara is surrounded by light. Tara is, healing is surrounding her. I will shift it. What good does it do to worry and obsess? And what can I say? It was wonderful. And then Anne Wincrist, who loves to send love notes to everyone every morning. And if you don't respond, they remind you like 2 or 3 times later. You have to look at this. Anyway, she just the other day, she wrote, she sent something that said, speaking about light, your light may not reach everyone, but it will reach those who are seeking it. Keep shining, being receptive, being open. So part of being in New York City was, caring for my mother in her 90s. So that's probably the big chunk of time. From 90, she died 1 month shy of 100. Wow. My mother was a 40-year autograph collector. She was the energy bunny. You had to keep her entertained. Whoa. And she was doing autographs even in her early 90s. She was But, you know, I was kind of overseeing her, so she could still go out, run around, but I was still managing things, you know, finance, all the things that you have to do as people age, and then, you know, the mind is changing a bit, so you're keeping an eye on her. But I needed to keep my own sanity. It was rough. I was always going like this, and I would walk down the streets looking for a sign, like, what am I supposed to do next? Does she live with us in Alaska? Do we put her in a assisted, you know, all those questions that you have. I just kept looking. I was so receptive to information. I really needed spirit then. I mean, we always do, but it was so prevalent. Anyway, so Marianne Williamson would speak every first and third Tuesday of the month when she was in town in New York City. She spoke at Marble Collegiate Church. You've been there?
I have.
Yeah.
At the Norman Vincent Peale's church.
Norman Vincent Peale used to speak there years ago. It's a gorgeous church. It's very old. The red velvet seats. Oh, what a ambiance. Anyway, that's on. My mother lived on 43rd and 10th, and the church was on 29th and 5th. And sometimes I needed to walk all the way. We did a lot of walking. But I could leave my mother this day, you know, with a dessert or a TV show or something, and I said I have to go and get inspired. And so I go. Now, before I go, a good friend of Chris and mine, Kathy in Hot Springs, Montana, who studied the Course in Miracles, she knew I used to go to see Marianne Williamson. She said, Joan, listen, sit in a spot where the camera can see you, and then ask a question. And then I'll see you. I said, Kathy, if the spirit moves me. But I go, and I do check where the camera is. And Marianne finishes her, now let's see if this works. My little slideshow, all I have is 4 slides. Okay. How come it's not staying?
It will as soon as the projector comes back.
Oh, I see. Good, I'll take a drink.
There you go.
Anyway, maybe she'll come when I'm done with the talk part.
We have a test.
So she does her talk, and then she always comes down right into the audience with her mic and starts to ask questions. And so she's asking a few questions, and then now I'm suddenly aware of the pamphlets in front of the pew in front of me. You know how they have the little slot for paper or pamphlets? Let the spirit move you, it says. Oh God, I gotta ask a question. And I did have a question though. I was so inspired by Marianne Williamson because she wrote so many books, and I always wanted to write a book about my mother, her fascinating life from childhood on. And I said, Marianne, how do you do it? Do you sleep? She has written if you look her up, I can't believe how many books she's written. I said, do you get up at 5 a.m. every day and start writing? And she said this, and I'm going to read it, because I took down every word she said after when I went home and watched the replay. But I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but listen carefully to what she said to me. She said, I'm one of those people who is pregnant with a book. And when it is time for it to be born, it is born. I don't even bother trying if it is not happening and still living within me. I think the image of pregnancy is very important, whether you are a man or a woman, whether you give birth to a biological child or not. That something lives and grows within you before it is born. This is the creative process, and that's how sometimes I get a little off my rhythm and I get a little irritated when people push me too fast. It's not coming out of me yet. something has to be integrated. And I look at her and I go, Marianne, you must have been picking up on the pregnancy thing. I'm a nurse midwife. And she said, she got so excited. So you know about labor and delivery. She said, this is beautiful. You know all about labor and delivery. So when it is time and the moment is here, you will open your mind. You will open your heart. You will open your consciousness. And you will open your computer and the words will come out just like the babies do. Woo-hoo.
Whoa.
Whoa. Just so much inspiration. That was the day after Christmas. It was 12/26/2017. And I went home and I was recharged. I was recharged to be in love and present for my mom. I mean, it was a constant working at that and asking for inspiration. So part of being with my mother, growing up with my mother, is it's all about celebrities. It is. Bonding with my mother is 4 hours watching the Oscars. It's the Academy Awards, you know. Bonding with my mother was standing outside David Letterman for hours, waiting for somebody that she wanted to get signed. Now, she did that for herself, by herself for years. But then she said, come with me. You know, bonding with my mother was Jimmy Fallon, being outside his stage door, or some play. Every day she would note, well, who's going to be where? The Daily News, the Post, who's going to be where? She had the photo, she had it in her, and she'd go to the theater district.
Wow.
Anyway, I was in Bethel now, and I was somebody's secret Santa. And this beautiful Yupik woman, nurse's aide. Now, I kind of knew, I must have heard that she likes Keanu Reeves, so I thought, oh my God, this is early November. I said, maybe my mother has a signed photo. She would love that, right? Keanu Reeves. So I call my mother and she says, you know, I don't have one of his photos signed or anything like that. I have a photo, but I don't have it signed. So she said, don't worry, I'll look into it. Now, he lives in LA, but she will know where people are. She will look in the paper, she'll see he wasn't performing, he was at an event in Lincoln Center. She found out he is on the plaza, you know, there is an intermission, having a cigarette in a corner.
Oh my God.
Now there's all the other people. He's really good at kind of being inconspicuous. And so he is over in a corner. She walks up to him.
You're going to need to log into your computer. So unplug it from the thing.
Okay. Oh, sorry, guys.
Nope.
Oh.
Log in first.
Oh, log in first?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Ah.
This is kind of a bonus. In addition to the spiritual stuff you're receiving, you're also getting a lesson in computer.
And I knew that I was. I knew. Now, so how do I get there?
It's going to go.
Oh, it's going to go?
You just have to wait.
Okay, so that's Marianne Williamson with her mic, you know, just. And that's what I was trying to do, Phil, really, is to push myself, because I don't do this. I was like, PowerPoint, keynote, what is it?
You know. You can
So
press
anyway,
spacebar to go to the next one.
The space bar for,
Oh,
no,
you got it.
no, but I don't want him now. How do I go back?
Arrow key, right, left arrow.
Pretty airy.
Here?
That's the right. You did left.
Stay on, Mary.
You're on.
All right, okay, so he's over in the corner. All the people are over here. They're having an intermission. My mother walks over to him and she said, Keanu, my daughter lives in Alaska. She's supposed to give a Christmas gift to a beautiful Eskimo woman. could you sign this?
Oh my God.
And he goes, what's her name?
Aw.
Too many. Love
Aw.
Keanu. I'm getting chills just saying, love Keanu. Woo! Okay, this flies to me, then, it's up to Bethel, and I give that to her. You can imagine the tears, the joy, the total surprise. And it's interesting because Deepak Chopra talks about the different traits of synchronicities, and one of them is incredible surprise. It's like this cascade of improbable situations start to occur. And sometimes when they occur, it keeps happening in your life. It transforms your life. You're very lifted by it all. I was. So the next one coming up is, this is another Keanu. Keanu Reeves is like an enigma in our family. So again, I was thinking about him because there was an article, I'm in Manhattan, and there was an article about him because he's just a regular guy. He doesn't go around in a limousine. He takes the subway, he takes a taxi, he wears regular clothes, even though he has a nice house in LA, probably a lot less than a lot of people spend on houses. And I was thinking about him, so I had just recently read something about him. I'm on the line at Jack's discount store in Manhattan, and somebody's on this line, and I'm on this line, and the guy's going, you better keep your eyes open, Keanu Reeves is in town. He's shooting a film or something. And I go, oh. And so I said, Mom and I are going to go on a mission. We're going to go find Keanu Reeves, because I want to take a peek. So anyway, my mother lives in a residential area. She's not too far from Times Square, 43rd and 10th. The theater district is, closer to the 50s and maybe 7th Avenue. The avenues in Manhattan are very, very long. So it might sound like it's close, but it's a walk. And I kind of thought maybe the Times building, so I was a little obsessed about it. I said, let's keep going and walking and see if we bump into him. And then I just said, let it go, because it wasn't happening. Next scene, we're at my mother's. Chris is there, and we're visiting, and his cousin is coming in from Arizona, and we visit with Joe and my mother. My mother stays put, and I say, let's take this package to UPS. Let's go for a walk. UPS is like 42nd and 11th. So I have to take this package there. So I go to UPS, and he said, oh no, this doesn't go here. This goes to FedEx. So you have to cross the street, miss, and you have to go down the block, and it's at the other corner. My boys are with me. We go down, and who is sitting in an undisclosed building in the entryway, like the doorway? Block that out. This is me trying to take pictures off the internet. He is sitting, it is just so close to where my mother lived, so improbable, because usually they're over at the theater district. He is sitting, we're walking by, I go, okay guys, that's Keanu Reeves. And this is that smoky glass, and it's not disclosed. I found out later the place is called Sky Space or something, and it has a warehouse where he can do his stunts, because that's what he's all about. He's Matrix Man, right? But I think he was shooting John Wick. Anyway, again, I had put out, let me see Keanu Reeves, let it go. There you go. It was fun. These are the fun ones. Yeah. Okay. You can look at him.
Was he having a cigarette?
Yes. Oh my God, yes, he was.
Why didn't you talk to him?
You know what? The other thing, he was talking to a young teenage boy, right? Yeah. So, we just walked by. I just said,
Hey, dude, you're awesome.
oh, I don't. You don't want to bug him either. Even though my mother is very good, she can get any signature for anybody.
But you took that picture.
Yeah. No,
Oh, okay.
no, this I got off the internet.
Oh, okay.
And it's the same place because he's been working at John Wick show, and
Okay.
that's the warehouse. I found it online.
You should have stopped by and said that you were from Alaska and you appreciated the picture.
Yeah, maybe if the young boy wasn't there, he was giving attention to a young
Right.
teenager.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, I just was like, okay, I have two witnesses. I didn't dream this up. So, my mother again. So anyway, she turns 88, and for me, with the background in Oriental healing and the number 8, it's very significant, right? 88. I thought it was a very auspicious number of my mother's years, even though I gave her a party for her 90th. At 88, I decided I'm just going to fly and surprise her and just hang out with her. So on her 88th birthday, I did, and we had the most incredible time. The energy was just really high. We were laughing. I took her to her brother in New Jersey on the bus, and we just talked a lot. We talked about our own synchronicities that we have, which is another thing. And I left there feeling so good. Not even an inch of resentment or irritation like I could have many other times. I'm sitting in Newark Airport. Now Chris has given me a first class voucher, and he said, look, if it's open, maybe you can get first class with this voucher. Well, there was nothing. And they said, the plane is full. But I sat there flying high as I was really feeling good, and I said, I don't know how this can happen, but thank you for my first class seat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how this could happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but thank you for my first class seat. Let it go. Because I was going to be sitting in 19B, which is in the middle, and, I'm like, hey, if there's a chance. But I had a couple of, two trashy magazines. I was going to hunker down. Either way, I was going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I get into my 19B, and I'm opening up the magazine and starting to relax. And there's a 20-ish-year-old guy here, and over here is an elderly woman. This guy goes, would you like to sit in first class? What? I said, did you ask me if I want to sit in first class? And I was so shocked that he almost felt like I shouldn't have asked her. He said, my girlfriend is up there. I bought her a ticket as a gift, but she feels uncomfortable because first class is very intimate. It is. And so your young 20-year-old might not feel comfortable being next to somebody she doesn't know. I said, you are kidding me. I said, and I probably was very loud and said, oh my God, I was putting it out to universe and you're asking me. And I can't believe it. And I thank you so much. Boom. Up there. Then I am sitting next to the most incredible Chinese American businessman. Oh my God. 20 years in US. Born in Beijing. Now, Tara. I'm calling you Tara now. Dawn and I had been to China through our Oriental healing arts. We studied Tai Chi and Qigong in the mountains with the Taoist monks. We spent time in Beijing, in Shanghai. I had so much to talk to with this man. We were like, bah, 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 bah. It was so wonderful. The meal was great. The wine, oh my God. It was such a gift. And all I can remember, and I'm not saying, oh, you got to be this high to get those kind of things, but I do remember feeling very lit up. I do remember feeling a lot of love. I do remember feeling I don't have an inch of judgment. And it was such an amazing gift and amazing synchronicity.
That is awesome.
What do they say? A coincidence is a miracle in which God wishes to remain anonymous.
Wow.
I am gonna give a little memory to Melinda, so hang in there, Melinda Patterson. So, but my mom did pass. Oh, wait a minute. Before that. So,
You said you had 4 slides, so let's go.
so I don't have a picture of my mother with Keanu Reeves, but I do have her with Robin Williams.
Oh.
Wow. They loved her. You know, Winnie Goldberg. Yeah. Whoopi and you know Lily Tomlin. You know, they would go up to her and say, because she got so many autographs all the time. You know, she just got collected a lot. She kept going back. They would say, "Kay, I haven't seen you in a long time," and then she'd go, "I haven't seen you in a long time." But they loved her, and there she is.
Wow.
Anyway, she passed away October 8th of 2021. And as I know that we all go through this, you know, with a loved one passing, you know, they're on our mind for a few months, probably right after, pretty intensely. So about 4 months later, I don't remember my dreams much anymore. And I think when we have a dream that is so in color, is so vivid, it feels like it stays with you all day, that I think that's a visitation. I really do. And maybe you can relate to that. Yeah, it's different than a regular dream. And so anyway, 4 months later, I see my mother in the entrance of our 2-family house in the Bronx with this gray coat on that she always wore when we went to visit relatives in the Italians in Long Island. You know, we'd go there and visit, she'd wear this gray coat. And she looked so vibrant. She had her kerchief on that she usually always wore, and just so fresh. And she kept saying, she looked at me and she'd go, "Yes, yes." You know, like as if she's saying, "Yes, it is me, yes." I was a bit shocked, as I can remember, I can hear myself going, because it was so real that I gasped. And I kind of wanted to, it's unfortunate because I wanted to get out of it, because I was feeling like, I know you're not here, well. So a month later, that was very wonderful. A month later, out of the blue, my cousin in Ireland, who doesn't send me anything, I didn't tell her anything about that. She knew, she knew my mother passed and everything. She's sending a picture which I had never seen. Had to make it bigger,
You hit play up at the top.
hit play. I see it. I wonder if I go.
Just trying to zoom in on the picture.
Yeah, I would just like to make it bigger if it's possible. Thank you so much. There we go. So, 1 month later, see that coat?
Yeah.
And on the back of the picture, it says, "Kay is pregnant and due," it's May. It's May of 19. And I was born in June. So
Oh my
she's
goodness.
pregnant with me, May. I'm due the next month. I had never seen this picture. My cousin is sending it out of the blue. I was like, whoa.
That's the
beautiful.
same coat that she
That's the coat.
Yeah.
This is
That's
the coat that she always wore.
That is
And that's
cool.
my grandmother, Louisa Pisco from Sicily, and her uncle, and her brother, and my mother's sister. There were 7 kids and everybody. So I thought, what a beautiful gift for my mother to say hello through my cousin Tina, and to confirm in a way that visitation was real. Wow, man.
Woohoo.
So a moment about Melinda. I have Melinda on my altar in the bedroom. So the bed is here, and as I leave the room, I see her, and I'm going downstairs to make my coffee. So I see her every day. Well, for some reason on May 1st, I took her off the altar and I went like this. And I just felt drawn to thank her for her healings that she's done with us and what she's done in the community. I know that she's an animal whisperer, that she worked for a veterinarian, and she's so skilled at healing and talking with animals. And then I put it back. And as I do, read the Course in Miracles or A Way of Mastery or some kind of inspirational. I picked up the Daily Word for Women from Unity, and I looked up May 1st. And I was just doing what I usually do. God bless animals. Pets so beautifully demonstrate unconditional, uncritical love. They take us as we are for what's inside us. I won't read the whole thing, but again, a confirmation, please, that she heard me, that she felt me. It was beautiful. I won't be here on the 25th, so I'm just so grateful that I can honor her right this minute here.
That was your last slide, right? She can
Yeah,
disconnect.
that's the last. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Dave. And this is my last little story. So, in the reception room, right? The last room, I'm doing shelving. And what I would do when we were in these different rooms is I would kind of look at where can I take books that are a little bit more difficult for other people to get at, just because I'm like a bouncing bunny myself. So I don't mind moving like this. So I would do that. I would take a shelf. So I'm like looking at what shelf should I go to? And I go to this far right shelf. And the first book that I pick up while I'm in this reception room, it's 9 a.m., nobody else is around. And I do have to preface this, that while I was entering these books day after, we were all doing this, I didn't have music on, I didn't have any distraction as I was doing it. It was kind of meditative. But one thing that would happen is Mom would show up in the way of, I would just see myself walking around the streets of Manhattan. And she would show up like that. And part of it is because my mother was a great typist. And I was thinking to myself, she would love doing this work. So the first book that I go to is in a box, like a gift, right? And it was laying there, Wings of Silver. And as we always do, we go inside, we have to see, who the author is, what da-da-da. And many of the books have been donated, so sometimes there's some writing in it. And as soon as I read this, I had quite a release, and thank God nobody else was here. It was 9 a.m., and I had the biggest cry, because what somebody wrote is this. I'm not so good at writing poems, but there's one already written that says just what I want to say. So remember, it's always and think of it often. So remember it always and think of it often. And it is a song my mother used to sing in the house. And it goes like this. And my mother's a much better singer than me, but I'm going to do partly sing. And it's to you, too. When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm is a golden sky, and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Thanks.
Thanks. Wow. It's beautiful.
Does anybody have any questions?
You wanna know about a celebrity? Oh.
Well, I don't have a question, but I wanna say something. Joan and I have had this beautiful, beautiful friendship, and she is one of the most powerful manifestors. I don't even know. When I first moved to Alaska, I found out about the Saturday market, and I was out there doing my NIA. This lady came up to me and she said, "You've got to meet Joan Koval. I have this friend, you have to meet her." So I called her up and I said, she gave me her number, I called her out of the blue and I said, "Hey, I'm here and I happen to be a NIA teacher and I understand that you used to be," and she's like, "I knew it! I manifested a NIA teacher in Alaska."
Because I was teaching, but I don't like to do anything too long, you know? I'm like, all right, I got it at Spirit Path, I was teaching classes, and then I'm like, boy, I've gotta manifest somebody come up here who really wants to do it all the time. I mean, did we pick the right person? Yeah. Oh, God. So,
So Sherry, just so you know, Joan shared that exact story with me as we were driving in.
Oh my God. Beautiful. Synchronicity.
That is so
Well, you know, yes, sir.
Well, speaking of synchronicity, your relationship and your memories and your song that you were so graciously shared with us was a miracle. The miracle of an example of a human being being able to share a story that was close to your heart, that had the essence of the eternal now, whereby you, a picture of you in spirit, giving a talk in the physical, and actually having a relationship, sharing the relationship of your mother. And that's a perfect example of the ability for every human being to have that eternal now where we go out of time. And I went out of time listening to you and having you share that example of timelessness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
That's good.
One of the greatest takeaways I got from